Engineer, your take on this. Somewhere last week, I think on Friday, we saw armed men in his home in Kumasi on whatever charges we are not aware. Later, we were told that he had been invited by the CID, which invitation he attended upon on Monday and was to report again yesterday, Tuesday. But after the CID, he was picked up by Iyoko. I mean, how we go about some of these arrests and or even if we do have legitimate concerns or reasons to pick up people?
I think the use of state force against citizens needs to be looked at very carefully, because all of us as citizens need to be very careful, and we need to look at it very dispassionately. They are all state agencies. If you needed him after he had attended to one, simply just tell him, oh, we need you, or this other agency says they want to talk to you. But this attitude where we go with guns and all manner of things, I don't think it helps, because you could just have transferred him from one state agency to the other without all the drama. And I think that our security agencies themselves need to look at themselves and say, are we being professional? They need to ask those questions. And our governments need to behave, because we are running this country as though you do me, I do you.
Okay.
When I come in, I'll show you where power lies. Retaliatory politics. And I don't think it's helpful for the country. And all of us, again, must look at Wontumi and say, yes, he may have done certain things. He may be accused of certain things. But is that how you treat a citizen? Look, the kind of videos I've seen about the things he said, terrible. Where he says that even if security agencies have to come into Ashanti region, they have to reach out to him and seek permission, clearance before even they come. Things like that clearly are not proper. But we had a government that looked at it and kept quiet. Where the government has said, no, you don't talk like that. Even if there were such things, you don't talk like that, and you don't threaten other incoming presidents or potential presidents with the kind of talk that he had. But for me, at the end of the day, when you have power, your character is displayed by how you handle that power. So for me, the way the NDC, for that matter, is handling this issue doesn't sit well. I mean, whenever you have power, you need to look at it and say, yes, I've been given the power. How do I use that power in the interest of the larger citizenry? But you just don't exercise that power arbitrarily and say, yes, I'm now in power, I'm going to show you. Because the state has so much power that no citizen, citizen, not even a former president, can challenge a state institution. So it's important that our governments, and especially our political parties, understand some of these dynamics and seek to run this country in the best interest of all of us. Why he's being invited in terms of whether Galamsey or whatever, these are issues too that we need to be very clear about. I mean, it is no secret out there that once government changed hands, those who were participating in the Galamsey simply went to the other side and said, Master, your government is in power, take over. There's no secret to that. So we all need to sit down and say, is this really an attempt at fighting Galamsey, or it is simply a show of force? Because go around, you go to Simpa, on the Takrady Takwa Road, Simpa, in Swahim, Dompem, all those places, right by the roadside. People are mining every day. You see that people wake up every morning and they are out there digging. So when we say we are fighting Galamsey, are we really being sincere about it? Or is just, again, a show of force? Okay, a lot of people are making noise about how we promised that we'll fight Galamsey, so let's arrest Wontumi and let's deal with him. But for me, that is not the way to go. If you look at this country, we have the Minerals Commission, which is supposed to regulate the mining industry. The question we should be asking is that, what is that institution doing? They may say, oh, by legal, yes, but in terms of even the registered and licensed operations, because Wontumi was a licensed operator, he had a licensed operation, and yet we found him in the forest. What happened? What was that regulatory body doing? They collect all these monies and sit in the offices and watch. So I think that, again, it is not about governments coming in and say, let's set up a committee to... No, there are already existing state institutions that should be regulating and controlling the industry. So we are paying people, they are receiving salaries, sitting in their offices, and we are not holding them accountable to the job that they have to do. So we come and then also we have to set up a commission or a committee to fight Galamsey. So for me, those things are cosmetic. We need to look beyond that. We have the Forestry Commission. So assuming that the mining regulator says, look, I'm controlling the mining industry. Those who are licensed with me, I'm controlling them. And then we also know that there's a ban on mining within the forestry area. So what is the Forestry Commission doing? These are the bodies' response. So we should be able to go into that forest and say, look, we are checking and monitoring that no one comes into the forest.
Have we resourced them enough to be able to do that?
Man,
because we've seen them complain that they get somewhere and the people are armed.
I think that we make excuses about resources. We use that as a broad excuse. Why? Well, in this country where Forestry Commission was distributing Achimota forest, where did they get the resources to distribute the Achimota forest? You see, when people act in their own interests, they are happy to do that and they have the resources to do it. But when it comes to doing the job for which they have been employed, then they sit back and say, we don't have resources. The issue is, as the Forestry Commission sat down and said, look, Galamsey is becoming a problem. How do we deal with it? And map out a strategy and even go out to government and say, look, this is what we need to do. Look, I'm saying that no matter how big the forest reserves are, we can use technology to monitor the forest reserves. You can go in there and plant sensors and cameras. And somebody simply sits in the control room. People enter the forest, immediately you know. Exactly. So if you even haven't got guns to face, you call for support from the police or the military. So it is not for forestry officers to simply say we don't have guns. The guns given to forestry officers are mostly to protect them against animals, wild animals. It's not supposed to go and fight criminals or people invading the forest. So if they need the support, then they then call and say, look, police should come in. We have seen people in the forest reserve and issues like that. We are not seeing that. Our water bodies are being polluted. We have a body responsible for water bodies in this country, which is what? Water Resources Commission. What are they doing? Again, these are things that they should be coming. They should be initiating the things and say, look, this water body had this stability, this were the quality. Now it is this. There's something not right. And call for resources. So we need to sit down as a country really and do the homework properly.